she was a great collaborator. She liked working with people. And her friends shared her enthusiasms for Japanese anime or for video production or for interesting film directors who she was interested in.
I'm not even sure about the range of ideas that she would have used, because she just did so many different things.
You know, she never took anything too seriously, just like the rest of us wouldn't, because we sort of, you know, we realized the more fun you have, the better project you have.
It was something Liz Lee just concocted at the last moment. Said, I want you guys running down the stairs and I want to shoot it.
Run down the stairs and action!
So we ran down the stairs and she shot it.
The whole story was basically about a ball who was a professor, and I was Thomas. Don't ask me if I was a boy or a girl, I still don't know to this day. And I was very upset that I had a ball for a professor. And Nicole came out and said, "Hi, Thomas," and we started having this conversation about Professor Ball, and she was saying how he was sexy, and, you know, we were just ad-libbing because we didn't really have a script.
I'm paying way too much money for room and board for this. Hey, Thomas.
Oh, hey, how are you? What's up?
Just came from Professor Ball's class.
Professor Ball. Yeah. Sexy guy, huh?
God!
And then Nicole did a monologue about Professor Ball and how he had an aura around him. And it was based upon a certain professor at the school, which I won't name names. And it was really funny to watch her. She had such an expressive face, so the faces she was making were just wonderful.
Yeah, Professor Ball. I've heard some things about him. There's this one girl, well, see, I'd never be attracted to a professor like that, but I don't know. Sometimes when you're looking at him up there on that lectern, it's like he has this aura about him, this glow. And you start thinking, I would do anything to impress him, just to get him to notice me.
I'll notice you, baby.
Oh, Professor Ball, no!
After being on that set for so long, it was really great to have Nicole come by, because she just brought so much humor and fun to the set that wasn't there before. And she did that to every single movie that she was on. And that was really one of the reasons that you'd want Nicole on your set.
And so I was going to make a film in which a kind of annoying mad director who was crazy about Dogma's film style was subjecting her cast and crew to like a series of indignities because of her basically her desire to shoot in Dogma.
No, you can't zoom. No zoom.
Why not?
It's not dog meat.
Dogma.
It's about the purity of film, man. It's about honest film. We're not creating art here, we're creating life, you know?
Oh, God.
And one of the reasons that I wanted to get Nicole, because she had such a good face for facial expressions. I remember Pink Me used her to depict in class when he wanted to show us, you know, how to angle the camera on people's faces and how little we needed them to make overt facial gestures. She had the most subtle face. She just made these great facial expressions without even really putting muscle into it. She just really just evoked a great deal.
And then they shoved us in a corner and had us just sort of stand scrunched into the corner like this. And I think our lines were, "Can you guys hurry up and give us our motivation, because this is getting frickin' painful." And it actually was really painful being squished into the corner, so there are some death looks on that footage that are not entirely fake.
Dogmatacy, scene 2, take 2, and action.
The dogma vow of chastity. Numero uno. Shooting must be done on location.
Hey, can you guys, like, hurry up and give us our motivation or whatever, because this is...
Really getting freaking painful here.
Yeah.
Use that. Yeah. Back. Put your arms over your head. That's great.
They both put up with a lot from me on that project.
And then this also entails staring at a dead fly on a windowsill, or a fly that kept, like, it was on its back and it kept sort of buzzing around and then it would die for a few minutes and yeah, it was really disgusting whatever it was. We just had to sit there and stare at it with these long, intense looks while Liz and Lauderdale argued again over how they were going to shoot us. And finally Liz decides, I'm going to do away with the script entirely, and Lauderdale just sort of shoved the camera at Nicole and said, hold this, just hold it now, and you get this great close-up of Nicole's face while Lauderdale is screaming and swearing in the background. And yeah, that was quite a lot of fun to stage.
You want to throw out the script entirely?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Hold this. Hold this right now. Hold it.
And I still just, like, get such a big kick out of just seeing the people involved. Seeing Liz, seeing Kristen, and seeing Nicole, because her face was just so great, you know?
So, like, is the director driving you freaking crazy?
Yes.
What?
Oh my god.
Is with that hat? I do not know. She wore it to the shoot. It's driving me crazy, too. I just want to go over and, like, you know, smack it off her head. Like,
I want to put it in the hallway. I just want to pick it up and just put it right in the hallway and see what she does.
Can't you, like, just take it away from her?
I think the best part of that whole shoot was when Lauderdale started playing the theme song to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Nicole sort of snuck over and commandeered the tape recording.
This has been folded. Dogma sucks. What are you doing to my beautiful soundtrack?
And anyhow, in return for that, I worked in her film, which was The Campaign, and I played one of those bunch of RPGers who were doing a role-playing game.
Okay. Scene 1, take 1. Action.
I guess the #1 comment she ever made in a creative writing course was, elves? I hate elves! If elves ever showed up in a piece, she just starts screaming about them.
You've been cheating on me? With an elf?
And Will said, what do you know? You're just a healer. And I smacked him. And we had to do so many takes of that, and it was really fun. And he had a little red imprint towards the end of it, which made me laugh. So I don't know how well that showed up in the footage. She probably had to look for one where the red print wasn't so obvious from my having smacked him several times before.
Yeah, they tried to fake slap and just get some, but it just wasn't working. And he was like, it's okay, she can hit me, it's okay. So she actually smacked him. Yeah, it was my idea for the plan, just because David and Pinkney had been so excited about like, certain things that I was like, hey, let's shoot through the plan. And I kept mentioning it, so she was like, all right, let's do it.
We talked to the waitress and asked if we could shoot in there, and she said you have to talk to the cook. And we said, well, yeah. She said, well, which one do you want? The crazy one or the dumb one? And so we said, we'll just take both. So he came out and he asked if he could be on the film. We're like, sure, I guess we could push you in the background or something.
She was really nervous about directing it because she had never done it before. And I was like, you know, you'll be fine. And her movie came out to be wonderful.
And she did a lot of camera work for my movie that I put together, and she is really one of the most competent DPs that I've ever come across. She just had this really great way of, she somehow knew what I wanted, even though I didn't know what I wanted exactly. I just sort of half vocalized, okay, so I want them to do this, and she'd say, oh, well, how about this? And she just somehow knew. It was a great talent of hers that she knew just what would look good, where.
Rolling.
I was scared of heights.
She was terrified. She was like, I'm good. But that was like the thing. That was like her. I'm going to go up there because my art demands it, and I must climb the tree. And so she got up in that tree, and then it was like a great shot.
Yeah.
But she was like petrified, and she didn't want to, something about not letting the camera down. Or at the end it was like, I'm going to give you the camera now.
Yeah.
And then I have to find out how to get down.
Yeah. But she said, all right, we want this shot, so I will get up in the stupid tree and I will get it for you. And she did. David and I, she had to climb on David's shoulders, and we shoved her up into the top branches of that tree. And the camera was shaking like mad. You can see it on the footage, but she did such a great job of getting this wonderful aerial shot of the graveyard. And she was willing to do that. It was really cool that she was willing to do that for her friends.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because she was like not a tree climber, but yeah, and then the whole tree was like, she was like just kind of scuffling up it. Bark was coming off in everybody's hair. And I just recall lots of people laughing, and Nicole was among them.
Well, at an anime convention, they have many events, and one of the things that people do is they put in videos for a music video contest. Yeah, she really did a good job, and she really put her heart into it. It was nice to watch.
So when I first met her, I knew the anime part of her first, because that's how I met her. Towards the end of my freshman year, I started hanging out with the anime group, as they were referred to. Yeah, she did Ranma. She loved Ranma. She considered herself Akane, one of the characters, this really kind of tough female lead. And she had a Ranma Akane music video that actually won, I think it won second place at, I can't think of the con right now, but I've seen it played at cons, in like 5 different cons. It's like a really popular one that she's done. And she did other music videos, but that one I think she's really known the best for, because it was really well done, and it was a good song. And so things like that stick out to, anime fans. It is really funny. It's like a fan parody, and it's popular belief that Cypher and Squall, the two main guys in Final Fantasy VIII, kind of had a thing going on. It was one of Nicole's favorite things was gay boys, and so this video is kind of interesting.
Video about Cypher, which was he was the antagonist of FF8. Well, one of them. He was kind of like a sub-antagonist. Basically, she ended up falling in love with his character when she played the game, and she wanted to make a video, or a music video based around that.
I remember we lived through Final Fantasy VIII vicariously through her when she played it. Like, all of us were like, what's happening now? Wow, that's interesting. And wow, Cypher just, okay.
And submitted to Nekocon, and they ended up winning the trophy that year. Took first place.
That one was fun.
Also with that one, she was trying to go for a little tongue-in-cheek kind of gay factor too. You know Nicole.
I remember the first day we had to do our movies. It was the first time in our movie making course during J term that we finally got out and used the camera. And we all had only one shot to do this take, and everyone had the same lines.
We had this project for J-term where everybody had to go out with this 4-line script. And I was in Nicole's and Nicole was in mine, along with Stephanie Stender. And I had the two girls kind of whisper these 4 lines to each other. And then I had them peek over this brick wall. And it's great because you can just see how wide Nicole's eyes get when she's peeking over the little wall.
Isn't anyone else coming? Why? Well, it's just, don't worry.
But of course, Nicole had to do something different than everyone else and made half of her lines in Japanese. And so I was the DP for that. And so Cassie comes running into the bush, started screaming Japanese, and everyone else just had really mysterious movies about going and robbing banks, when she just made a comedy out of it. And it was really interesting to watch.
Unfortunately, I believe that Nicole's was taped over, which really is a shame because it was great. First time I ever spoke Japanese. Got to have like this fighting stick sort of thing in the bush. It was really funny. They were great to watch in class.
We went out there with the camera and absolutely no idea of what we were doing. And we just started tromping around in the woods, and there were all these bushes that kept catching everybody, including the camera. I would just flip back into the camera. We were terrified we were ruining the camera. And she's like, okay, you guys, you walk through here, and you film her walking through here. And so I'd be following Nicole around with the camera, and Nicole would be like, what's going on? And she, I think one of the best parts is when she hit a hole.
Okay, cut.
Oh, it was definitely fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun, even though we were doing crazy things in the woods in the freezing cold. We enjoyed it. I mean, it was good times, good times.
It was sort of make it up as you go along because I didn't have a script. So I just told Nicole to walk, and she walked. Well, she's definitely the comedian. Like, of course, everybody knows that about Nicole. Scene 5.
Ah!
Well, Nicole came up to me one day and said, well, I'd really like to pretty much just do a webcomic. And I said, sure. She said, well, would you like to draw for me? I said, of course. And so that's pretty much how it got born. She came up, originally had another idea for it. She was going to do a different one called the Heroic Adventures of Steve, which was a some kind of story she wrote her freshman year, I believe, for Pinckney. And we ended up going with the Osaka Journals.
Oh, wow. And it was to chronicle the events of the study abroad experience.
Yes.
So basically what was the storyline about?
The storyline was about this girl, Kayla Forrester, who went to Japan on a study abroad that Kansai Gaidai in Osaka. And she ended up meeting a lot of different people there. And overall, just the way, or what she was supposed to be doing in Japan, it was going to be a limited story arc and be finite eventually. We had gone through about 6 months of actual production before we had to quit.
Well, I remember when they first started working on the soccer journals, Nicole was teaching me the linear at the time, and Bart came and was showing her the first issue. He was the main artist for it, but she was the one with, she had a lot to do with it.
And I remember whenever Bart was there, he would just sort of sit on the floor and either sketch out an issue of the Osaka Journals, or sometimes he would be inking it, putting it over in black ink. But I do remember sitting and watching him sketch a few times, and it was really neat to watch him because you knew you were watching like a real artist. But Nicole would, she'd sort of gripe at him about do this, do that, or do it this way, do it that way, and they seem to get along so well and have so much fun doing the journals. I guess because they were based on her and because, they had so much invested in it together. It looked like it would have been something really neat, and I think they both genuinely enjoyed working on it.
I thought it was very interesting how she based it on her own experiences, and I thought that was really very interesting. She got to get into the mind of Nicole each week.
That actually, we both wrote it together freshman year, as a joke. We were all sitting around talking about, because it came out that Cartoon Network was going to dub Gundam Wing, and I think we might have actually started this before we found out it was actually being dubbed. But we were like, oh, wouldn't it be so awful if they dubbed Gundam Wing, all the stuff that they would do to it. So we sat and we came up with the weirdest stuff we could think of. Like, it was just awful. We made sure that the title had nothing to do with Gundam or Wing. Like, we called it Chronicle of the New Mobile War and all this stuff. So we sat down and we wrote down kind of a brief summary of what we would change the names to, what sort of personality flaws they would suddenly have. Like, Katra is supposed to be Arabian, but he's a little blonde boy, so he decided he was from Texas for no good reason, and stuff like that. So, and I think it all started because I was making fun of one of the we called mobile robots in the dub, but one of the Gundams is called not Big Duck, Tall Geese. And so we decided that I was talking about how it's so stupid they may as well have called it Big Duck. And so we got together and we wrote this short little thing, but we never finished it. And then I had to do a sound project for Film and Video 1. And I said, well, you know, it'd be fun to take Gundam Wing, now that it's actually being dubbed and everything, and just make our fake dub. And so I got together an all-female voice cast, actually, even though it's a show where it has, like, one main female, and that's it, really. And got together an all-female voice cast, and I asked her to do the narrator, because whenever we talked about it, we were talking about how narrations always start with "in a world," and she would do the voice, like the narrator voice. So I got her to do that, and it was really funny. She did a really good job all the way up until, because she didn't have to match any mouths or anything. Luckily, we were just it was basically like a commercial where we didn't have to match anything up, because I didn't want to try to do that on the linear system I was using then. But she was going, and it was so funny because she got all the way through it until she got to this one line about this one character's eyebrows, because she has these forked eyebrows, and then she just burst out laughing in the middle of it, and it's like she just couldn't get it back for like 5 minutes.
They must defeat Trent, Zachary, and other creepy villains in order to recreate the Sunken Kingdom. Will they survive? Will Henry come back to kill Harmony? Will Quentin's accent stay consistent? What is wrong with Dorothy's eyebrows? How does Tristan make Bigfoot do that? How will Henry try to commit suicide this week? Is Sally Poe on their side or not? Will Trent reveal he's really a Brit? Will Tristan run out of ammo? Learn all this and more this spring when Chronicle of the New Mobile War will be aired in its entirety on television.
Yes, Mary did a fan parody of Gundam Wing that we were all involved in, and Nicole was in that and I was in that, and that was the first kind of beginning of our little dub thing. And her voice worked really well. I tried to sound like a really low-voiced man, which was very interesting.
She approached me about Doorstop Productions, and we decided it should be that there should be a group of independent mainstream filmmakers. Like, we grouped together all the people that we thought were independent and mainstream and started having meetings, and that's how we were going to pull our production crews. And our acting talent mostly was from people we knew and this group of people who would share and help with everything from critiquing the footage to actually getting the footage shot.
We wanted to have a film group on campus and like help each other out with films, you know, give extras, help with costumes, you know, be DPs for each other. So we started at Doorstop.
I wasn't really involved too heavily in the beginning because we'd go to meetings and it would be all about, hey, do you remember the Smurfs? We didn't get a lot done.
Does anybody have any bad bridesmaids dresses? Because I need them for my shoot. But yeah, definitely. We had a lot of fun with those meetings.
I would lug stuff around every once in a while when I first met her. Like for Dog Catcher's Daughter, I was pretty much just a gopher. We worked on Dog Catcher's Daughter together, which, you know, I feel like I should like make some sort of symbol of respect whenever I talk about it because it doesn't exist. It got deleted so many times that it just sort of became a dead project.
Yeah, I know she was in it, and then I remember seeing her behind the camera, actually filming. And I remember her doing whole sound stuff. It seems like to me like she was just like everywhere. But that whole thing is kind of blurry. It's like everybody was everywhere, and especially since it was so cold those 2 nights.
And that was an experience that I think only the people involved can ever understand. She did dramaturgy, but I wasn't involved in that part. And I was camera ops while she did script supervising and continuity. And so that was really, none of us ended up on that doing the job we were technically doing. We were all doing other things and running around, and so it sort of, yeah, I hit the record button on the camera, but that was really about all I did that was actually technically my job description. So that was an interesting experience, especially like driving to West Virginia to Pinckney's farm to film. She and I were in the car with all the equipment, and at one point on the trip we realized that the equipment was worth like 8 times as much as my car. So it was interesting.
Nicole was never, I mean, she got flustered every once in a while, but she was never like panicked. She would get kind of flustered, but then she'd get this kind of look on her face, this kind of determination, like, well, I can figure that out some damn how. And then she would go figure it out, or she'd make something up, you know, which I thought was great, because she was just solving the problems, where other people were just like going, ah!
What? Are you filming me? Another meeting. Well, the light
The camera pointed on you.
I can't tell. The light is blinding. Give it back to Jason's head.
Or that whatever it took, she would sort of do happily as if it was something that was important, which it all was. I mean, all of it was important, but instead of it being, you know, beneath her or not in her job description, she'd just go ahead and do it.
I thought the idea of shooting with while singing and lip syncing to music was actually a really good idea. It wasn't that difficult once you actually got used to it, but the hard part was actually speaking the lines instead of singing the lines.
Talking away, I don't know what's left to say, I'll say it anyway. Today is not my day to find you.
My main issue was that it was freezing cold and I had on a short spaghetti strapped dress and sandals in 30-degree weather, so we would have to take blankets and like warm things and go outside, and I'd sit there all huddled under the blanket until I was ready to shoot, and then we'd be like 1, 2, 3, throw the blanket off, shoot, finish up, pull it back on, and then I kept always forgetting my lines or screwing up somehow, and so we'd be outside forever.
The other pretty bad part that I didn't really enjoy was just some of the cold nights just standing out there shivering to death. You think for being almost April, May-ish, it wouldn't be that cold at night.
She's a pretty good director.
Yeah.
She's very laid back and seemed to have most things under control that she could control.
She was one of the people, well, she wasn't pushy. Like, you know, I guess she said that she was laid back, but she had everything pretty much thought out about how she wanted to look in her mind, and she wasn't afraid to take the time to get it to do right instead of getting frustrated and spazzing out.
Scene 1, reaction shot of the in-crowd. Take 1, action.
So, coming in premiere.
Oh, Claire?
Yeah. What the hell was that all about?
I don't know. I mean, I can't believe you talking to her. God, she's the dresses.
It was set in the 80s. So she came over, just half my wardrobe was gone. She's like, wow, Stephanie, you got a lot of polo shirts. So for the whole month that she was taping, I didn't have a lot of clothes. So, yeah. The shirt Lori wears, the shirt Bart wears, all mine.
I actually own everything I wore. I wear the dress still to some nice occasions whenever I deem to put on a dress that looks very mid-80s. She told us like the day before that she didn't have enough people to this dance, come into this dance thing that she was filming, and she said dress up in 80s gear. And I was like, oh, I can so do that. And so I grabbed Kelly Queener and was like, okay, we're going to dress up in 80s gear, and you're going to be my date, and I'm going to be like 80s girl. So we get my hair, I think my hair was like all the way up in a side ponytail and looked really, really awful. I had a scarf tied to it or something. There was so much hairspray in my hair, you could like hear it crunch if you grabbed on it. And Queener had on this tie, and I think it was a suit.
some sort of jeans, and her little Devo shirt, and we just sat around and danced and acted goofy for, you know, an hour or so. It was fun. We had a lot of fun.
I do remember all the trouble that we had with that 80s school dance. And she was just determined to have that 80s school dance, even though we couldn't find anybody to be extras for it. So we all just ended up dressing up. And it was hysterical. It was a lot of fun.
Then I fell one time in Siberia, and I landed with my face on the ground, got up, and my face was bleeding, but it was a small cut, and there's just this little tiny rock in my face. So I was like, we can keep filming, we can keep filming. And all of a sudden, blood starts dripping down my leg. Pull up my skirt. This whole part of me was just bleeding. She's like, okay, we'll go back inside. So we went back inside, and Stephanie bandaged me all up, and I still have a massively huge scar right there. But I think that was just like the culmination of the curse on the whole project.
Not much of a runner. I kind of looked funny when I ran. In fact, I believe she said I looked like a lumberjack. I had my Paul Bunyan run. And on top of this, I'm trying to run slower, so I ended up looking even more goofy.
The race I had with Bart, yeah. I don't know how it came up, but I challenged Bart to run from Tinker to Siberia. And so I raced him out there. It was for me to warm up. I also wanted to prove that I could kick his ass. And yeah, that was fun too. I'd almost forgotten about that.
Let's talk about the kiss.
Let's not. And it was just, I was so nervous.
Camera pretty much speaks how uncomfortable that was. I think Lori was the most uncomfortable out of the two of us. If I had any uncomfortableness, it was because Nicole was in the same room, so go figure.
Absolutely.
Laughed about it. That's all we could do. It was just, she was so apologetic about the whole thing, and it was really kind of sad, because it's like I really didn't mind what was going wrong. It didn't bother me. It was just funny. And she bought Jessica and I flowers at the end because she just felt so bad about the whole thing.
Even though there were a lot of problems on the set, you know, Lori falling and such, the final product, you can definitely tell that it was worth it.
And, well, otherwise I remember her as somebody who worked a lot and who was very interested. And, well, and I think she was also someone who took a lot of care of her fellow students.
Nicole taught me how to use the linear editor, and she was actually a really patient and understanding teacher, and it was really a very enjoyable experience.
Nicole's style, like I said, she wrote a lot about stories that involved how people interacted. That's her favorite thing to write about, was interaction. Not action, but interaction.
Because she'd always have something incredibly hilarious to say. I guess that's one thing that Nicole was really good at, was grasping the parts of reality that made no sense and showing them to people.
She was in and out of my office outside of class very often with questions or with ideas. She'd like to discuss projects that she was working on, and whether they were academic papers or some kind of video production project that she was working on, she often wanted to discuss them. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and she was always ready with a smile, and she had a very nice, ironic sense of humor. So needless to say, I was alarmed and saddened to hear about what had happened to Nicole, and I think it's a great idea that this documentary tribute film is being made in her honor.